Today is a dark day, not only for me and my family, but the whole justice system. And they say that justice is blind and only rich can get the reward and poor are sent to the ghettos.
This is the story of a successful businessman who not only lost part of his family, but almost everything he had because he stood for honesty, integrity, and truthfulness. Once you finish watching this documentary, you will wonder if there really is justice for the poor, where the rich and famous get away with crimes and the poor lose their last dollar to fight for their innocence. Manzoor Memon was born on August 9, 1951, in a small town of Shikarpur, Singh in Pakistan. He graduated third in his class in 1973 with a degree in electrical engineering. Manny has worked as a design engineer on cargo ships and as a maintenance engineer on DC-10 aircrafts before migrating to the USA in 1980. Once here, he worked at 5 nuclear power plants at Palo Verde, Wolf Creek, Grand Gulf, South Texas, and Comanche Peak nuclear power plants. He started a small business in 1985 and made steady progress, and his successful life is a living example of achieving the American dream. In 1997, he was one of the first 12 people who started a political campaign for Dr. Lee Brown, who served 3 terms as the first African-American mayor of Houston, Texas. He served as his advisor for South Asian affairs, volunteering for more than 40 hours a week for a $1 a year salary. He also worked 8 months for Mayor Bill White, but resigned because he felt that Mayor Bill White preached one thing while on his campaign trail, but changed his philosophy of governing once occupying the mayor's office. Memon also served as member of the Mayor's Advisory Board for International Affairs. Later on, he served as president of Pakistan Chamber of Commerce, USA, trustee for Pakistani American Community Center, where he built the first Pakistani Community Center in Houston, for which he was featured in the Houston Chronicle 3 times. In 2008, Manny wrote the book, Is Honesty the Best Policy? And later on, he started a newspaper also titled, Is Honesty the Best Policy?, which has been in circulation since January of 2010. This newspaper's mission is to expose leaders who have committed financial crimes or other types of corruptions, and to also bring clean and honest leadership to our communities. We know that the price of telling the truth is always very high, and Manny has paid it dearly in the form of harassment, threats, physical attacks, and legal intimidation through fictitious lawsuits which have put him at the edge of bankruptcy. People who have made money through deceitful deeds hired high-priced attorneys who wanted to make an example out of him to make sure that no one exposed the dirty and deceptive deeds, making sure that they got away from getting punished for the crimes they had committed. Manzoor Memon was a victim of those who came after him, and he fought back and is still combating, but at what cost? Which makes you wonder if there really is justice for the poor in the society which is dollar-driven and only those who have money can prevail. This is the story of a long legal battle which continues till today at an unrecoverable cost to a person who was seeking the truth and wanted the system to punish corrupt people. Unfortunately, the system did not support him and he lost some battles, but he thinks that he will eventually win the war. Manzoor Memon has been fighting for the underdog by advising victims how to fight back to recover their losses due to financial frauds committed by many white-collar criminals. In some cases, He helped the government agencies to recover millions of dollars stolen from financial institutions, including the IRS. He has established a not-for-profit organization, No Justice for Poor, to help the victims of white-collar crimes. This is the story of a one-man army who is fighting this war solo and expects to win because he thinks that the truth will prevail at the end. I now present to you Mr. Manzoor Memon. Mr. Manzoor Memon, thank you so much for being here. I want to talk about your newspaper, Is Honesty the Best Policy? Can you tell us why you decided to start this newspaper?
See, in 2008, I wrote a book named Is Honesty the Best Policy? And it got very good reviews and people liked it because it was the first time somebody wrote the stories which people want to read it, but people did not dare to write it. And then in 2010, I got the same feeling that in the media, I'm seeing that they are writing only a biased kind of a story. So I thought I should create some kind of a newspaper which should write stories which should not be biased. It should be a truth, but the truth. And so I said, I'm going to start a newspaper and I will try to do a lot of investigation of the stories and write those stories which people don't see in the regular newspaper.
How do you feel that your newspaper was received by your viewers? Because this is very controversial.
It's very controversial. See, I've got one group, very strong supporter, and of course the people who have done wrong things, you know, they don't like their dirty deals to be exposed.
Yes.
So in majority of the people, they like it. They call me if my newspaper is one day late. They ask me, you know, why the newspaper is not here. But then naturally, I've got a lot of people, you know, they don't like it because I have exposed a lot of people and helped the agencies in exposing a lot of financial frauds.
My name is Mohammed Munawar Qureshi.
And you're from where?
I'm from India. Recently, I met this guy, Sajid, in a restaurant. He said his employee is on vacation and he need my assistant at the afternoon time. So Sajid trained me over there like 4 weeks, but he was selling some incense that is called herbal incense kush, and I was not aware about that stuff. He said this stuff is legal to sell in United States. Whoever is 18 years older, you must check ID.
Is there anybody who helped you in this?
The main person is Mr. Manzoor Memon. He's helping me. And Mr. Memon also cooperating with the police. He's talking to the DA to dismiss my case, to get justice for me. Like what wrong I did? I did nothing wrong. I was just assisting that guy and he's trying to save himself. He's trying to save his partners and he took my advantage. So I need justice. I'm poor. That's why there is no justice for me.
In 1980, when I migrated to United States, my brother-in-law told me two things. Information is the most important thing in America, and an honest society is what it prevails in United States. I didn't understand about his notion about information, but I was sure about the honesty, which is considered as the best policy all over the world. After living in the United States for the last 32 years, I now realize that information is a vital tool for successful life, but I am skeptical about the honesty in our society. Due to open immigration policies, many uneducated and shady character people have mixed in our society, polluting old school of thought where honesty was the best policy. Today, dollar has taken over the ethics, and in this race of making money, we have sidelined what is good and what is bad. In today's time, when you talk about honesty, integrity, and truth, many laugh on you as if you are an alien in this society. Rich people with the power of their money control all the institutions, and there is no hope for the underprivileged, particularly when there's a question of justice for them.
What's your name?
Mr. Shamsuddin Hassan, and I've been in Houston for 30 years and running this business for 15 years. And I'm the victim of the check fraud crime. Rizwan Moeddin, who introduced me, the Muhammad Rafiq, that he was a nice person and cashed his check. I do a check cashing business here. And he was, I thought, good, honest person, but he turned around that I lost my $24,000 to $25,000 by dealing with this guy so far.
So you went to the court?
Yeah, we went to the court. Before going to the court, he had a lawyer who approached me, Altaf Adam, saying that he'll be paying me the money. But instead of that, he started paying me the checks, which bounced again and again. And then once I negotiated with him and took the $100 to $200, he paid me cash. So the whole business of filing through district attorney was not possible. And I was fortunate to meet, and I was reading the newspaper in one of the restaurants on Hillcraft, and at that point I found out Honesty Best Policy newspaper written by Manzoor Memon, and after that I contacted him, and he was the one who told me about him, that there were more victims, and he showed me his past history and all that, and I gave him all my documentation to Mr. Mansoor, and he printed out in one of his issues. Okay, his lawyer, I think, is a fraud too, because once he promised me not to file and save his client, which I did in honest way, but he defrauded me again and again. You see, to hire an attorney, you need the money, and if I put $3,000-4,000, and even that I won't be able to recover. You see, if he goes through the court system and they'll give him a restitution, and he'll start paying $100 or $200, what will end up? I won't even recover my lawyer's fee. I don't have that kind of money to spend right now. Because money talks and bullshit walks in Texas. Especially in Texas, I don't know about, but probably in America too, the same thing, formula. Yeah. There's no basically justice for the poor people. That's bottom line. When you're poor, you're just like dead.
In short, there is no justice for poor. If a poor person compelled from hunger steals $1 food from a store, he is convicted for theft and sent to prison, and white-collar criminals steal millions and get away with no prison term except few months of probation, a slap on their wrist. This is the reason jails are full of poor people, and seldom you will find people like Bernie Madoff or Alan Stanford within them. The reason is that there is no justice for the poor.
Hi, we are with Dinara. Dinara, you have known Manny for a very long time. Tell us how he came into your life.
I met him through a friend of mine who had told me that he has a newspaper out, which is Honesty is the Best Policy. And it has a lot of information, and it tells us a lot of things, what's going on in our community.
And have you authored any articles in this newspaper?
Yes, I have. I've offered a couple, and he's printed it. And then, like, if I write stuff, poetries or whatever, then I ask him and I request him, and he prints it out.
What is your opinion about Manny Memon?
To me, he's an excellent person. He fights for rights, and he brings out the truth.
So do you think that through his newspaper he exposes people? Do you believe that maybe people do see that honesty is the best policy, or is there justice for the poor?
To me, there is no justice for the poor.
After publication of my book, Is Honesty the Best Policy, which was published in 2007, in 2010 I decided to start a newspaper named Is Honesty the Best Policy. My theme was to highlight the financial frauds in our community. As soon as I started highlighting frauds, several people wanted to shut my newspaper and file lawsuits against me. The good thing was this courthouse, with all the judges, they told the plaintiffs that according to the First Amendment, this publication cannot be shut. 3 lawsuits were filed against me. I tried to fight those cases on a pro se basis, but in one case I lost it and had a judgment of $700,000, which I have appeal in the appellate court pending. 2 cases are still pending in the court, but because I was trying to fight these cases on the pro se basis, I lost that one case, and I have hired some attorneys who in one way have drained me out in the legal fees. 3 more cases I filed against the people who tried to harass me by publication of an anonymous newspaper, and one in the Pakistan Association of Greater Houston, which I wanted to bring the community about what they have done wrong. And third case in which I was attacked by one of the Pakistan Association trustees. 1 case is finalized and 5 cases are still in pending. My only concern on this is that when I was pro se, I was not getting the response which I should be getting, though I was doing a community work. But once I got the attorneys in, they turned the tables. Today I'm saying I'm in a better position legally. But what I see that when you are poor and you don't have the money, then there is no justice for you. And that's what I'm fighting, that there should be a system change in which the poor people can also get a justice.
My name is Naveed Jaffrey, co-founder of Xeon's Biofuels, which is a research and sustainable development company. I first met Mr. Memon in the year of 2007, and I invited him to be a keynote speaker to my staff and members of a think tank group which I run called Citizens for Justice. My then partner strongly, for some reason, opposed any involvement with Mr. Memon and forced the cancellation of this event. In March 2010, Mr. Memon, then editor of Honesty the Best Policy, a locally run newspaper, asked me for an interview. I invited him for lunch. But surprisingly, he even refused to have me pay the bill, stating that it might influence him for any story which he might write on me. I was very impressed, honestly, in the beginning. He published a story about me. It did hurt me a lot. I lost a lot of company. I was very upset with him. And but as time went by, I got to know him. I saw that what he was doing for the community was actually very noble. I was amazed to see the energy level of this one-man army who exposed so many dirty deals done in the city of Houston. Irrespective of so many physical attacks, verbal abuse, harassment, this man stood his ground and fought his case and set a stage for people to change their mind and see what our community leaders are. With limited resources, he changed the public opinion and helped so many victims in their cases who could never get justice from this dollar-driven society, which protects only the rich and famous. Because of him, I'm a changed person. I did surface to be a stronger person. And I thank Mr. Memon for his publication, Honesty the Best Policy, for standing up for the underdog and teaching me valuable lessons.
This is the Harris County criminal court system, which is a very beautiful building, but what I see, a lot of politics in the prosecution side. There is a lot of number games going on in prosecuting people. The law should be very simple. That if somebody has stolen something, there should be a restitution. What I'm seeing is no severe punishment, but only probation or jail time, and the people come out on the street and they commit the same crimes. My suggestion would be severe punishment to the people and restitution for the victims. If there's no restitution from the victims, a lot of thieves, they think that they can go to jail and come out and without paying for what they did it. So therefore, restitution is very important and severe punishment is very important.
Next, we're going to discuss a very interesting case in which Mr. Tariq Ayub lost over $28,000. Let's see what he has to say. Mr. Ayub, you had a very interesting case in which you lost a substantial amount of money. But before we get to that, can you tell us how you know Mr. Manzoor Memon?
Mr. Manzoor Memon through one of my friend. He's the attorney also. And
tell us about how Mr. Manzoor Memon was able to help you with your case.
When I contacted Mr. Manzoor Memon, he said he gonna contact Rafia Siddiqui, host of Hamtum Radio, and Mr. Khalid Siddiqui. He did contact them, but they refused to resolve the issue. So, and then he decided to expose them in his newspaper. And then after that, he told me to contact district attorney.
Okay. So at this point, do you feel with your case, do you feel that there was any justice done?
I hope for the justice, but there is no justice for the poor.
After a long legal battle, out of 3 cases, I lost 1 because I did not have an attorney to fight for me. 1 case, Bombay Wala versus Memon, was dismissed, and 1 is still pending in the court. After hiring a law firm named Barlow and Jones, and later on a top-notch law firm, Jackson Walker, the legal bills went so high that I felt that the only way would be to file for Chapter 7, protection. Today, I just filed the protection to keep myself afloat. This is the price you pay for bringing up evil in the society, where a jury awarded $850,000 judgment in favor of an individual who was running adult stores all over the city. This is the reason everyone agrees that there is no justice for poor.
We are with Dr. Naveed Salim, who's going to speak to us about his relationship with Mr. Manzoor Memon and how it has impacted his life throughout these years. Dr. Naveed Salim, thank you so much for being with us today. Tell us, what is it that you do?
I am a professor at University of Houston Clear Lake.
And tell us about your relationship with Manzoor Memon. How long have you known him?
I have known him for at least, I would say, 15 to 20 years.
That's definitely a very long time. What's your impression of him? What has your friendship with him been like?
Well, you know, we have been tennis partners. We have also been friends, and we have talked about just about on every subject that we could talk about, and we have known each other at a personal level.
What do you think, what is your impression on his newspaper, Is Honesty the Best Policy?
He is a person who has a lot of integrity, expect the same from other people, and all he's really doing is he is serving his community, making sure the community is aware of the problems in the community. The community is aware of the people who are serving the community selflessly. So I think his paper, his writing is a great service.
And you have stood behind him doing this newspaper all these years. Tell us why.
Any time you talk about a subject that is controversial, somebody will not be very happy about it. But that is the job of the media, to point out the problems that we have in our society. It is the responsibility of the media to point out the problems we have among our elected officials. So I don't really see any problem with that.
Tell us a little bit, I know you mentioned a few words, but explain to us a little bit more about Mr. Memon's personality and his character.
I consider him a very honest person, a person of integrity. I don't think he is a person who goes after other people. I think whatever project he takes on or whatever he writes about, he believes in the reasons for working on that project or writing on that. And I believe he does it out of sincerity, out of the purpose that the community needs to be aware of.
Today is a dark day, not only for me and my family, but the whole justice system. And they say that justice is blind and only rich can get the reward and poor are sent to the ghettos. After filing Chapter 7, trustee and their attorneys ganged up on me as well as on my wife's assets and acted like vultures to grab every dollar from us. All our attorneys acted weak and instead of fighting, forced my wife to settle and pay over $850,000 in judgment cost. This was the price we had to pay for highlighting evil in the society where no one wants to support the underdog and whistleblowers. Attorneys are like hourly employees, billing for each minute they think about your case. The worst was their billing for the research hours. If I'm paying you $500 per hour, I assume that they should be very well versed about the law. But this fictitious way of ripping off clients in undetected, where attorneys charge numerous hours in the name of research. In my view, attorneys and most of the judiciary is not interested in justice, but to make an extra dollar. This is the reason why frauds are at rise and punishment to individuals committing crimes is very less. Until unless we do not give severe punishment to the culprits, the society will be more corrupted and polluted with crime. In short, no justice was served, and I feel that there is no justice for poor.
Here are the few recommendations and possible solutions which can offer some relief to underprivileged people encountering legal troubles. First of all, simplify court procedures, particularly civil court procedures, to allow pro se defendants to fight their cases. In present system, pro se plaintiffs or defendants lose because of lack of recognition by judicial system and complicated procedures. Second, just like criminal courts, where the court appoints the defense for the accused, civil courts should offer similar services to people who have been defrauded by white-collar criminals. In case of frivolous lawsuits, if proved wrong, plaintiffs should be penalized to pay for the legal cost of the defense. This will reduce fabricated and fictitious lawsuits filed to intimidate people. Stiff penalties should be imposed on white-collar criminals committing frauds which cause losses to general public who trust institutions to invest their life savings. In criminal and financial fraud cases, restitution should be double the amount of the fraud to ensure that white-collar criminals don't repeat crimes. Slowly eliminate election process to position judges to ensure non-political persons to take the bench. There should be no political contributions allowed in judicial races, which gives leverage to attorneys funneling money to judges. Judges should be educated to rule based on the law, not on their personal preferences and moods. There should be a citizens committee formed to evaluate performance of the judges. Bar Association should review cases of attorneys' misconduct more vigorously instead of imposing light sanctions. We should provide special legal protection to media who are exposing white-collar crimes to save the society from people like Madoff and Stanford. At the end of the day, my faith in the legal system is not very strong, as rich and famous buy out the justice through high-priced attorneys, and poor lose their last dollar to fight for justice. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black once said, "There can be no equal justice where the kind of trial a man gets depends on the amount of money he has. If you don't have money, you do not have a chance. So there's no justice for poor." But at the end of the day, fighting for the right is very essential. If in the society you let bad things happen and don't fight it, then it means you are as bad as the criminals. So in the same context, Abraham Lincoln said very nicely, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part him when he goes wrong." Today, I still feel on high moral grounds that I am right, that I stood for right. I preach and practice to do right, and right will prevail tomorrow. After every dark night, there will be the dawn, and there will be light, and I'm pretty sure the truth will prevail. In my 32 years of living in the United States, I have fought many cases, but most of them lost due to inadequate resources in rich and affluent companies as my opponents. I want to give you a few of those examples.